Good morning. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your head for a prayer. Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligation. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage that we may well serve our county and fulfill our trust. Amen.
Amen.
Minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 11th meeting.
I will second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, additions, corrections? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. Next, is there any public comment regarding pending resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on to resolutions. We have Dan Becker from the county engineer. Morning, Dan.
Morning.
Morning.
I've got one resolution for your consideration today, and that's accepting and awarding the 2025 replacement of bridge number 18 on Medina Line Road in Wadsworth, and then our weekly permits.
I will make a motion to approve.
I will second the motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Next up, Jeremy Cinco, sanitary engineer.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Three resolutions for consideration today. The first is authorizing the sanitary engineer to release a partial amount of escrow to Fetchco Excavating Incorporated for the Fenn and Marks Road water main replacement project. The second is authorizing the sanitary engineer to purchase a 4x4 single rear wheel drive pickup truck for the line maintenance department. And the third is authorizing change order number 1 for the Medina County Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project.
I'll make a motion to approve the three resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks. Next up, Holly. Morning.
Good morning. On our personnel changes resolution today, we have 3 new hires, 2 in sanitary and 1 at Job and Family Services, 5 rate increases, 3 at senior and adult services, 1 at solid waste district, and 1 in sanitary, 1 rate correction in transit, and 1 return from leave in senior and adult services.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Next up, Brett from finance. There he is. I was looking over there.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I have 4 resolutions for you guys today. The first one is our final increase on the temporary appropriation measures. This is our last adjustment before the finalized budget. Most of those are just small housekeeping tasks for things that that our original appropriations were just a little bit shy for. Our second resolution is the excess property resolution. We have some remaining stuff from the professional building that is getting disposed of. Several of these items had no inventory tags and have well served past their useful life, so they are ready to go. Our third resolution is expenses for county officials. A lot of this is actually just setting up the economic development and chamber meetings coming up. Then the treasurer has has one for economic development, veteran services, and then JFS and the auditor. And our fourth and final resolution is for our weekly bills in the amount of $1,962,434.27.
I'll make a motion to approve the 4 resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Brett. Next up, Matt Springer, county administrator.
Good morning.
Morning, Matt.
2 resolutions. The first one is an agreement for legal services at the Medina County Jail. This is for attorney Candace Brown at an hourly rate of $75. And this would not exceed $14,062.50 for the next 2025 calendar year. The second resolution is an agreement with Medina TV. This is for the production and the broadcasting of commissioner meetings. This would be a one-year auto renewal agreement at an hourly charge of $67 per hour. And with this agreement, there are actually additional services that we could take advantage of should we choose to do so in the future.
I'll make a motion to approve the two resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? I have a question about the research expenditures. Those would not be subject to any reimbursement from the state, I don't imagine, from the, it's not considered public defender work or anything like that, so. Okay.
I don't believe so, but let me confirm. just to
I
make
assume
sure.
that's the case, but I just like to check in on that, because
Yeah.
if it's something that might be available, I can't
You can
imagine.
get
it would be.
whatever percentage, yeah, it's worth going for.
Yeah, yeah. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, man. With that, we'll move on to department updates. Richard Nelson from the building department, who may also have a resolution of his own.
I believe
do.
he
In
does.
fact, I do. Good
That's what threw
morning.
me off. There was another resolution, but it was department update time.
Yes.
so.
Yes, we have a resolution to reappoint David Demagall to another 5-year term on our Building Appeals Board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you. So our department update, building department update for January, the overall value of construction compared to last January is 35% less, but it's still up from the recent low in December. And it maybe now is a good time to note that an average of $25 million worth of construction is permitted every month, throughout the county. It's pretty amazing. It's an average, but still, that's pretty high average every month. And that's in our county alone. Average home price now starting out the year at $381,000. And that always fluctuates throughout the year. New home starts of 32, that's 6 above average for a 5-year average. That's helped by 2 new homes in Wadsworth City that we're doing now. So that's probably always going to be a touch higher than average. Second page, of course, lists the monthly receipts, which is down 14%, and which, of course, is going to be same for year-to-date on page 3, down 14%. Page 4 is residential permits issued by townships and villages in City of Wadsworth. Page 5, commercial permits, also by township. And page 6 is the commercial permits listed and the values for the commercial projects in January. So I have nothing really further. This report will get put up on our website this afternoon, or later this morning possibly. That's pretty much all I have.
Great. All right. Questions?
Yep.
Thanks,
Very
Richard.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Bethany Dentler from Economic Development. Morning, Bethany.
Good morning. I wanted to start my first quarterly report to the commissioners with an overview of the economic development activity that we saw in 2024 and provide a bit of an update on this year to date so far. So compared to the prior year, 2023, Medina County's capital investment in 2024 was actually up 8%. Companies in the county spent $250 million on capital expansions, the purchase of new machinery and equipment, expanding their building, new space absorbed, and they announced the creation of 645 new jobs. It's important to us to understand the impact of our organization on this kind of activity. So in looking at the companies that our staff at the Economic Development Corporation worked on, we took in 81 new project leads. We actually closed 42 projects as a win for Medina County last year. And that includes, interestingly enough, 19 projects that we started working with in prior years as far back as 2019. So sometimes these projects take a while to develop. Those 42 companies that we closed as a win last year accounted for nearly 70% of all the capital investment that we saw in the county last year, which I think shows that we're working with the companies that probably have the most impact on the county growth. The jobs that are being created by the companies that we work with are expected to generate $28 million in new payroll in the county. I'm pleased to say that we're also starting 2025 in a strong position. So far this year, we've seen the announcement of 50 expansion projects representing $52 million in new capital investments. Those projects involve the creation of 90 new jobs. Coming up in later this year, we have several dozen active projects in the pipeline from last year that we're following up on, plus over 40 projects that we're still tracking from prior years. 57% of our pipeline projects are in the industrial category. 36% are commercial, with the remaining kind of in the development opportunities category. We continue to see development interest in all corners in the county. One of the interesting trends that I've seen over the past couple of years is new mixed-use development, getting involved in that. And obviously, as we move forward with some of those efforts, we're going to depend on the commissioner's openness to utilizing some new economic development tools, or tools that we haven't used in a while. I think those projects will have a public benefit. Some of them include infrastructure enhancement, and that will open up opportunity for growth in the county. As you've heard before, we do gain a lot of intelligence by meeting with business executives, and in 2024, our staff met with 220 companies. We're also meeting with quite a number of companies in the first quarter, and obviously we're hearing about growth plans and some of the struggles that they're having with what's going on in the world economy, as well as the U.S. economy. But nonetheless, Medina County is still in a very healthy position. Unemployment rates continue to stay extremely low in Medina County. The latest data available is for December of 2024. Medina County's unemployment rate was 2.8%, which is well below the state's level of 3.8% and the U.S.'s level of 4.2%. So I think somewhat of good news is that we have 98,900 people who are in the labor force now. That's actually 2,000 people higher than the previous year. So it feels like people are kind of flooding the market again, and we still have that low unemployment rate. So we still have about 2,800 people seeking work, which I guess is good for the employers who are looking for employees. But it's still well short of the number of workers that our companies actually need. So we have a lot of work to do to support the talent initiatives of our local employers. Just a quick side note, the Medina County Ohio Means Jobs Office reported that they helped to place 170 job seekers into employment positions in 2024, and they serve an average of 55 businesses per month. Just a couple updates on the Economic Development Corporation's workforce development programming. The Medina County Manufacturing Partnership, we serve as the administrator for that group. We received an announcement from the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation that we had been awarded a $100,000 Industry Sector Partnership Spark Grant. That's going to help us expand our partnerships with manufacturers in the county, initiate programs that could include things like summer camps for students, developing new curriculum that kind of focuses on the practical skills that our manufacturers need, as well as increased marketing and exposure of our manufacturing community. Another kind of related category is teacher boot camps. We received word from Ashland University that they had been awarded state grant funding to organize teacher boot camps for the summer. So basically, they're able to use the grant money to pay for the continuing education credits for teachers to then spend a week getting exposed to our manufacturing community, developing relationships, building curriculum. So we've reached out to Ashland and have applied for 20 slots for a Medina County program. Hopefully we'll hear soon if Medina County is selected, and if so, we'll coordinate a series of manufacturing tours for our educators. Our pre-apprenticeship program has been probably busier year-to-date than we have ever been. This school year so far, we have 212 students registered. That's well more than usually the 100 or so that we're at by this point. They will be participating in 11 soft skills modules to help them earn necessary points for graduation. Over the past year, well, I would say late last year, we finalized a project to record those videos on, record those modules on videos that can be shared by teachers, counselors, and other organizations that want to promote kind of career awareness. Over this past school year so far, we've been able to sponsor 5 high school visits to Magnet's Student Engagement Center in Cleveland, and we have one more planned in March. Our career coach program with Mitchell Bemke, he's now in his 3rd full year as a career coach. He's met with 132 students so far this school year for one-on-one coaching sessions. He's also promoting applications to our work scholarship program. So for seniors, high school seniors intending to go straight into the workforce, we're encouraging them to apply for this $1,000 grant that they can use to kickstart their careers right here in the county. Mitchell has also administered, it's a brain-based career assessment program called U-Science. He's administered that to 54 students since last summer. We're also working with the Job and Family Services Office to administer it to some of the folks that are seeking careers coming out of their program. That program helps people understand what kind of careers their brains are actually suited for, as opposed to what they think they might like. Like, you know, I want to be a CSI investigator, and you have no skills or training for it. But this will actually say, would you be good at being a CSI investigator, or should you become a politician? I mean, who knows? But with
Many untalented people have found their way there.
Exactly. But with that assessment information, Mitchell can actually help kind of guide them into a good career path and introduce them to businesses who can actually help them explore that information. He also recently organized a very successful Engineering Expo at Brunswick High School. It was attended by over 100 students and parents who met with engineers to discuss career paths, and he's also planning another Engineering Expo at Highland High School. A few other updates on our activities at Economic Development Corporation. Over the next month, most of our staff will be involved in our community reinvestment area tax abatement monitoring. We manage 11 CRA programs in the township on behalf of Medina County. We also handle reporting responsibilities for CRA programs in the village of Seville and the city of Brunswick. So we'll be back in late March to have you approve those recommendations of the housing councils. The Medina County Land Bank Board met in early February to finalize the request for proposals. That was released more than a week ago. We're working to identify potential development partners for affordable housing projects that will be able to utilize the $2.3 million in Welcome Home Ohio grants, which has to be spent by the end of 2026, which feels like it's tomorrow at this point. But I think word about that grant has generated a lot of conversation with housing developers, so hopefully we'll see more collaboration in the future. The Ohio Department of Transportation is opening the next round of Transportation Improvement District grants in March. So I've been working with the City of Medina and a developer of a project in the Route 3 corridor for a potential grant application for a new turn lane. That's going to require approval by the Medina County TID Board, as well as support by the county commissioners on updating the list of priority projects in the Medina County Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy document. So I'll be back again in a few weeks to work on that project. With regards to the Port Authority, our building renovation and brownfields grants program, we're still waiting on payment of nearly $230,000 in grant reimbursements. We submitted that to the Ohio Department of Development in December. First time we did it, it came through within a matter of weeks, and now we're talking months, so things have been a little bit crazy down in Columbus these days, but we are hoping to get that soon and to get that distributed to the companies that have made those investments. We're currently finalizing grant agreements for several of the major projects that were already announced awards for last fall, but there's another grant application that they're opening literally tomorrow for $50 million, and we're planning at this point to submit 2 to 3 grant applications that will be about $3 million of requests for projects in Wadsworth and Medina. With our Port Authority's capital lease program, we have 2 pending projects that will invest nearly $50 million in the county once they get underway. That's in addition to a planned project with the Wadsworth City School District for the redevelopment of the Central Intermediate School. I usually give a report on the Convention and Visitors Bureau, but you heard from Jody last week, so I won't repeat her report, but I just wanted to publicly say that she's doing a great job with the CVB. There's a lot of energy there, and she's bringing some great new ideas to the table. On the board side for the CVB, we are working right now to replace a vacancy on the board, and I think we've got a great candidate that we'll be able to announce soon. Just one quick reminder, coming up next month is the Economic Development Corporation's annual meeting. We'll have a dinner at Blue Heron on Wednesday, March 19th. We have Michael Wadokol coming in as our keynote speaker, who's going to be providing a geopolitical forecast called "What in the World is Going On?" And you've got to say it that way. What in the world is going on? Michael founded the International Strategic Analysis Group. He speaks all over the world. He also lectures at Baldwin Wallace University, so we were lucky that he's right in our backyard. I had the chance to hear him present at a conference in early February. I found his data fascinating, alarming, and insightful all at the same time. So if you're able to attend, I think you'll get a lot of value out of it.
Anytime data can be fascinating, I'm intrigued.
I know.
So,
It really is interesting.
the opening on the CVB board, is that one of the ones to be filled by the actual board itself, or is that an MCEDC? It's not one of the
That's
commissioners?
one of the appointments by a Chamber of Commerce
The Chamber of Commerce,
representative,
okay.
yeah. So someone in the industry.
Yep.
I had 2 curiosity questions. Do we have any update on how the hotel's doing for date-wise?
Well, they've been busy over the past couple of months working on infrastructure issues, so they hope to break ground by spring, March, April. I think ideally, they'd love to be open by the end of the year. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but they will be breaking ground soon.
Okay, secondly, there's been a lot of talk in the national news about, workforce going back to the office to work. Have we ever kept stats on what percentage of our workforce works from home? Do we know that in Medina County, or is that a stat we really don't have? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a stat I can put my hands on right now. There may be census data that might come out, but
Right.
it'll probably be lagging. So, in terms of a snapshot right now, it would probably just be strictly anecdotal. So, for example.
I was recently asked a question, and I said,
yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
So-
just as an example, talking to Westfield Group, for example, the largest employer in the county, they've got a system where they've gone mostly back to the office, where, they want people to be in 3 days a week, but maybe Monday and Friday, it's more of a flexible situation, so they might come in, they might work remotely. So I would say in Medina County, I would say the vast majority of companies are back to work, mostly in the office, but I think there's a lot more flexibility these days than we've seen before. So, all right,
Other questions?
Nope.
thank you.
Thanks, Bethany.
Good job.
And with that, we are to the public comment portion. Any public comment? Discussion session. Couple things to discuss. I know you're here for executive session. Jeremy, are you, I guess we'll move to Jeremy next, if that's okay? Sure. So he's still here. So this is primarily, I think, a continuation of the discussion from last week.
Yes, on the certification process, as to whether or not we want to move to do 3 certifications of delinquent balances this year, which would be as of March, July, and November. I know that we had received some information, looks like from both the auditor and treasurer, that the process that they choose to use to apply the certifications cost in the neighborhood of $1,500, $1,600, and roughly 50 some odd hours of labor. Again, that's at their choice to do it that way, as opposed to just certifying them directly to the second half tax bill. So, but we do need to I do need direction on if the commissioners would like to move to 3, only so we can notify the customers.
And what, from last year's experience, we only have 1 year of experience of doing it this way. With the third one, what was the amount that was collected as a direct result of doing the March certification?
So roughly in March, we collected roughly $550,000. In July, we collected $100,000, and in November, we collected roughly $550,000. So our largest collections of delinquent certifications occurred in the March and November, and I think because we've typically always done the July date, so I think customers were just aware to make sure that their balances or their delinquent balances were caught up in the at that July time.
Yeah.
To avoid the certification.
I would think getting $500,000 that early in the year and investing it would mitigate the $1,500.
I'm okay
In- in-
proceeding with
in-
your request. yeah.
In
I just-
interest, you know what I
yeah.
mean? It would, getting that money earlier in the bank and having our treasurer office invest it, we would make up the $1,500 cost that was given to us. My thoughts are, it was very successful last year. This is not, doesn't have to be a permanent decision.
Correct, we can
We
review
could
this.
try it one more year, see if it's as successful as last year was, and if it is not as success, we can
can
reverse back next
reevaluate,
year.
yeah.
So my thoughts are to try it for one more year to see if we have the success that we did last year. And again, it's not a permanent forever decision. It can be evaluated every year.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, if the alternative is we certify it later in the year and it becomes part of the following year's tax bills, we're talking about getting payments in connection with the March assessment this year, as opposed to waiting almost a full calendar year. It'd probably be
Correct.
next
So
January, at
if-
least December, before we'd see
If we,
them.
if we take our March March 2025 certifications and they get applied to the second half tax bill, we would recoup that delinquent amount in the summer of this year.
Yeah.
As opposed to the way that I think the treasurer was hoping to do it, which we would collect all of 25s next year.
And I mean, I'm open to having discussions too, if the dynamic that's challenging as a result of the manual process of pulling it back from the tax bill, you know, if there's a way to rework that between the auditor and the treasurer, or there's something we can do to ease the burden of that, I'm all for it. I mean, if there's a way to put less manual steps in this, because the process that's laid out by Treasurer Burke's memo is fairly manual, which is unfortunate, but when we're talking about $500,000 of collections for, you know, between, I'll say $1,500 and let's say $10,000, if you go the all-in estimate that he had, which had some indirect costs in there too, so that's kind of hard to put your finger on exactly. But either way, I think that's a pretty good ROI. But if there's a way to make it a little bit more streamlined, where there's not as many manual steps, that would be the ideal
The
situation.
streamline way would be just to put it on the second half, or just to put it immediately to the taxes and collect it the second half. Then, I mean, usually that process, when we send that information over to the auditor, we usually get back something in the next hour or so saying it's done.
Well, and I guess I'll let them make those decisions internally, but if there is a way to do that'd be great. But I completely agree too, that
And-
for this year, it probably makes sense to try it again if we have a worse outcome or.
And the numbers from last year were significant. They
compelling
weren't
numbers.
like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
weren't like, oh, you tried a third one and it was only $6,000 or $7,000. It
Yep.
was significant numbers.
Yep. So do we need a resolution for that next week?
I would do, we'll get notifications out in our the bill that would go out March 1st and then April 1st, notifying the residents of the upcoming certifications. And then I would, once we get the dollar amounts run for the certifications, I'll do resolution and provide you that information. And then we do resolution to certify, so probably in the late March, we would do that. Early April, we do the resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
That work for you?
I'm good.
Yep, good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, that was about it.
Good.
All right, well, thank you.
Any other discussion? No? No? Colleen, do you have anything? I know you've got
No,
something.
Ron is going to schedule an extra McDack meeting in March so that we can discuss the potential levy numbers that Matt put together with the auditor's office. So we're going to have an additional one before our May. May is generally our grant meeting, so this meeting would be more specifically targeted towards levy numbers, so.
Okay.
We have something about the
Yeah,
heritage
actually, I've
trees.
got two things. Well, first off is the Heritage Trees Program. But had Rhonda put that in there. This is coordinating with the, City of Medina, Barb DeZor, their committee. I've been talking to her. They have the semi-quincentennial, or the America 250 Ohio Commission, giving every county heritage trees to plant. It requires, as part of their planting program, they're asking if we want to participate in that, a commemorative white oak in each of the 88 counties, and it obviously, it's a kind of a legacy, it's a stewardship thing. Wherever you plant it, the expectation is you're going to take care of it. The thought is putting it on the square, if agreed. Counties are, we can put it anywhere we want, but I think that it would make sense to put it in Uptown Park.
Yeah.
And, but seeing as the city of Medina is the one that maintains it all, we will just coordinate with them, the planning of that. But I'll go ahead and, if you're in agreement, that we'll go ahead and proceed
Yes.
with that.
I think that's great.
Participating in that.
I think that's a great
Yeah.
gesture, and there's going to be a lot of really cool things part of that program, so
Yeah, and
I'm
then,
excited to hear more.
Yeah, and the other one, I actually wanted to bring up about NOACA, the mural.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring it under your report?
No, go right ahead. That's the
This is
Yeah.
the communication that I think Andy Conrad had indicated that as part of the work program gets approved by the executive committee, as I understand it, and this was as of last Friday, they're spending, what was it, $150,000
You're
of
rounding.
local.
I think it was 145, but either way.
145
Yeah,
of
yeah.
local fees for a mural on the NOACA building. I guess it was a somewhat couple votes against, but my concern is why
That's
they're.
important for transportation.
Yeah, for a transportation agency, I'm trying to understand, of course, apparently they've already selected an artist, not sure what it's going to depict.
Sarah, I was being,
But I kind of question their use of local fees
Yeah.
for that purpose.
Well-
We've got all these other needs for studies and transportation, and $150,000 is going to be put on a mural.
You think about how that could be deployed locally.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
I've got
And-
concerns. about
Yeah,
that.
and I appreciate Andy bringing that to our attention too, Engineer Conrad, because he called attention to it as part of his role on the Budget Committee, which then feeds up to the Executive Committee. And when the Executive Committee meets, just the way those meetings go, these things are pretty much just presented
work
for
plan.
approval.
and $150,000, think about how many public transportation passes that would buy for lower income people. That's a lot of passes.
Yeah. So, that is I appreciate that we had somebody up there that was kind of speaking out against it. Unfortunate that there wasn't more of a movement to redeploy those assets and resources, but here we are.
Yeah, I just make note that obviously I don't approve of that waste of money. There's a higher priorities for $150,000 when it comes to transportation needs and
Yeah.
improvements for our region.
Our continued
It's almost extraordinary that they would spend it on that. It's
conscientious objection will be noted for the record. Not much more, I
Sure.
guess.
Okay.
but, other thoughts, questions, comments? No? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Oh, I forgot to pull out my
I've got one.
executives. Thank you. I will make a motion to go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters and to consider the sale of real property.
Second the motion.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. Thank you very much. We'll adjourn from the executive session, so we'll see you next week.